pumpkin carving virtuosity that is Justin Bowser. Okay, I love getting to talk with people who are creative minds, and I love getting to talk to artists, and the ability that I get to talk with 4 artists that are different mediums is a joy for me. So I want to know what are some of the connections. I want to know where are some of those things that got you into the art field that you are in. What were those beginning influences for you? David, we'll start with you. You're closest.
We're good?
I think so.
College, getting kicked out of college was one of my, get a letter from the DNA, David, you need to go think about your future, yada, yada, and I was not going to be stopped. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not good here, but I'm going to go elsewhere. And then when I went and got the catalog, I always took my art for granted. And when I went to the catalog, there was art classes, and I said, I'm an artist. Because I never took art classes, because I just took it for granted. And that did it for me. I started taking art classes, and then it was just one of those things. It took off right there. And so that was my art career, and then I started drawing, pencil, all that good stuff. And then one job that really did it, I went and helped my buddy paint a mural at a dance club. He paid me with an airbrush, the trucker. Excuse my French. And that started the next phase of my life. And it took off like wildfire. And here I am airbrushing at Sinister. And I'll just throw a real quick dirty story with the Sinister. I saw an Iron Maiden mask for sale on Facebook. And I went and bought the guy, hey, 10, 20 bucks for the mask. Oh yeah, where do we meet, yada, yada. That dude was Brian. Brian is the goat here, the boss.
Yeah.
And it was magic. It happened to be that I had a Frankenstein portrait in my trunk, and I asked him, what do you do? He's like, I'm a PR guy for artists and stuff. I go, I'm gonna blow your socks off, are you ready? And I popped the trunk, and he saw my Frankenstein portrait, and that got me into Sinister, and here I am.
Very happy that happened. Dan, what are some of your influences? How'd you get started?
So being a makeup artist was nowhere on my radar, first of all. Never had a inkling of it, desire, or any of that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to do poster bills for bands. You know, if you don't know what a poster bill is, it's like appearing tonight and it'd be all the band names and there's always some sick artwork on the poster. And I thought that's what I want to do for a living, or album cover stuff like that. So I probably spent the better half of my teenage years to my mid-20s trying to break into that industry, but I didn't know how to do it. I would always go to bands at the clubs or whatever, and we talk, and yeah, I do stuff, but I'd never ever see it on anything. You know, it was always like, oh, cool, man, and they would just hang it up on their wall at home. You know, oh, that's not what I want with it, you know? But I found out later on that if you want to have your bands and stuff like that, you actually go to the venues where they're playing, and they're the ones who commission the artists and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so food for thought. So I hit about 25, and I was still pretty much a bum, and I got into sales. I sold cars for 17 and a half years after that.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine, man.
No, I did that job too, so I'm so sorry.
Maybe you can become a politician.
So it was a different thing, man. I had no artistic moments. I didn't, you know, you see things and stuff like that. I hit like what you call a dead spot art. It didn't matter what I did. It just couldn't get it out. It didn't look good. It was just, everything was bad. I said, okay, maybe it was just a phase I was going through. Ended up getting into an accident. Went through a bunch of therapy. Went to a haunted house to get my stamina and stuff up because I figured that would be a good place to work, you know, and I don't have to, you know, jump scares. You stand, you sit, you stand, you sit. And ended up really liking it, watching people do makeup and stuff. And I was thinking, I could probably do that. So I asked him one time, said, hey, do you mind if I do some makeup? They said, no problem. Never asked me to stop, and it kind of snowballed into where I'm at now. Influences, though, for my art, I'm a big Pushead fan. He's one of these artists that used to do a lot of stuff for Metallica and his own brand, Septic Death, stuff like that. Yeah, huge fan of Rick Griffin, which is a 60s, 70s rock artist for poster bills. Love his stuff. And then Salvador Dali, not just because of his art, just because of his person. He was just an artist all the way through in life and stuff. That'd be probably my influences in art.
Did Rick Griffin do the Jimi Hendrix with the lightning going through the afro poster?
No, so Rick Griffin, a lot of people don't realize this, but Rick Griffin's the artist who designed the Aerosmith logo, did the flying eyeball for Jimi Hendrix.
That's that, okay.
Amoxo from Grateful Dead, tons of poster bills, stuff like that. He used to do a lot of things for the Cannabis Club back in the 60s as well.
Nice.
I knew the name was familiar from the
Yeah.
Art of Rock posters,
Yeah, it was huge.
documentary.
Him and Mouse Kelly, yeah, those guys were
Love
huge.
it, love it. Robert, what are some of your influences? How'd you get started in there?
Pretty much, I think ever since I was a kid, I always liked being artistic and creative and making things. And I always was inspired by my grandpa, who I felt like he could make anything out of anything. Like he would go garbage digging and find scraps of metal and weld them together into bird sculptures.
Oh, wow.
And seeing that early on, I think that in my head, it was like, oh, you could make anything out of garbage, you know, as long as you knew the right shape, put it together, give it a paint job, and then it's a piece of artwork. And so that, to me, was really inspiring because growing up, we didn't really have a lot of money, but I always wanted to be artistic and be creative, so I would figure something else out, you know, some foil and paper and tape and string and, you know, putty and things like that. So I've always loved monsters. I've always loved special effects, makeup, and gore effects, and I always found that to be an art form. Like practical effects. Ever since I was a kid, I've always understood that versus digital effects, and the art form behind that was always very inspiring. So when I was younger, I did a lot of makeup effects, and studied that. And when I was a teenager, I got into filmmaking with camera works and technology, so I do a lot of that. I'm a photographer. I do lighting and editing, but I've always loved movies for the sake that it does require almost every single form of art, and it requires multiple people. You can try to make a movie by yourself, and it'll happen. But imagine, you know, combining multiple people and inspirations from other experiences in life that people may have to, you know, add into that. But I've always loved monsters. I've always wanted to work on like monster suits, giant werewolves, and Frankenstein, and always. That's kind of my favorite part of horror is the practical effects and the monsters and the creatures and the creativity behind that, and being able to recycle garbage. So like, for example, it's black trash bags, it's spray foam, it's sticks from the yard, zip ties, wire, tape, hot glue. Everybody knows creepy cloth, right? You know,
Yeah.
finish it off with some creepy cloth. And the concept behind this is that I'm going to be in my front yard leaning up against the tree on Halloween with the rest of the tree decorated
Oh,
like
that's
that.
wonderful.
So it just looks like a decoration until you're too close.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, I work at a haunted house. Also, I do set building. I did makeup for them for a while. I just really like being a creative person with my hands and doing visual art.
Justin.
Yeah, I love spooky shit. Like,
I think this is the crowd for that.
yeah. Kind of always have. I've always been really into drawing and painting. I've never really been one to get into more three-dimensional work before. And I think something that going back as a teenager, I did work also at a haunted house, and kind of like really saw all the different things that go into making that happen. A lot like movies, all the different forms of art that are absolutely required in all these other ways. And being in that setting alone it can be so inspirational. I ended up going to school though, and I did study art, but afterwards I kind of landed in this rut that I think a lot of artists who go to school end up in, and it's this institutionalization of I need to be making something, and it has to be good, and it has to be an A, and it has to pass a critique, and I'm not even going to try unless I know it's going to be a masterpiece, and it makes you not make anything. And I remember it was about 12 years ago, we went up to Auburn to see Pumpkin Nights. And it was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that in person. And everyone I was with, my family was all, oh, you should get into this, you should try it. And it was that whole thing of, well, just because I draw and paint doesn't mean I can do everything, like there's no way I could do that. And it was about 3 years ago, I actually found a random post online, like, we need pumpkin artists And I was like, I'm gonna just try it. And it
I'm
just
sorry,
grew.
did I hear you 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
Whoa.
Okay.
3 years ago. Yep.
3 years ago is when
3
you
years ago.
started, okay?
Yep. And it really helped push me out of that sort of institutionalized rut of academia, because no matter what happens, no matter how great you make the work, it's gonna rot. There is no saving it. You can't be precious about it. I mean, it could fall over and shatter all over the place.
I love that. I love that. The art for the here and now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily forever. Makeup has to get pulled off at some point out of your
Right.
shoot. At some point you are done with this and it's put away. It is that you were talking about having to let some of your favorite pieces go last year after your panel because you have to say goodbye to it. Somebody else wants to see that art. It's fleeting for you.
Bittersweet moment.
I love the creative mindset as far as where their art takes them, but I love that you mentioned, and you touched on a question that I'd like to bring up next, which is the holding back. Artists end up from either A, I've got a job that I can't do art on, from B, I don't have money for supplies, so I need to think different, from C on, I don't know if I want to go to school for this, but I'm going to try. All of you have gotten a moment of, I got held back by something, and your art moved you forward. I want to know more detail about some moments that could have halted your art progress, but you worked through. So we're going to start opposite way. We're going to start down there with Justin and go this way on that one.
Well, I think, I think you are your only obstacle. You know, you're the only obstacle, and you're the only thing that can really push you forward. We can talk about mental health. We can talk about all the things, but in the end, it's all up to you.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to push through. You have to know you're gonna make garbage. It's not all gonna look good. If you can get one good piece out of 5 or 10, then you're on the right track. But you have to make those shitty ones.
Is that, I see all three of you nodding.
We're all nodding,
Right
yeah.
away with that. That's perfect. That's a nerd. What, is this
Absolutely.
just the same?
Just the same. I mean, I'll work on a piece of artwork and somebody sees me make it and I'm like, that looks so easy. How do you do that? Because I failed at it 100 times before. Like I spent the last like 10 years doing it, and like I'm not going to show you what the first version of it looks
Yeah.
like. Right. And that's that. Hopefully that's inspiring to people. It's like the first thing you make, it's not going to be great.
No.
You know, but did you enjoy the process? Did you learn from the process? Is the next time going to be better? Is it going to be more enjoyable? And that's the biggest thing for me, like with my artwork, I enjoy doing it. You know, that's a big part of it. It's not like I can't wait to get this done so then I can show it off. It's just like, it's therapeutic, I feel like, for a lot of my processes, that when I'm sculpting or painting or, you know, in my zone, listening to music, drinking coffee in the garage, and just kind of like, it's very zen. And then you take a break and you leave and you come back to it and you're like, oh wow,
Definitely.
yeah, that's cool. Okay, yeah, all right, now I'm inspired to keep going.
Yes, sir.
Being able to walk away from it, take a break, take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, or whatever. Just stop looking at it, go do something else, then come back to it, and then see how you feel. And like, hopefully that's inspiring to just keep going, because every time you do it, it'll be a little bit better.
Dan, same?
A little bit, yeah. I've got sketchbooks upon sketchbooks at home that are some really neat pieces, I thought, when I started them. And halfway through, they just ended up another unfinished page in my book.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I've got paintings that I've started
Yeah.
that are still sitting from like 8 years ago that I've never come back to just because it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to. I figured, you know what, I need to take a break, come back to it later. Maybe I'll see something different in it. Sometimes
Yeah.
that happens.
Or like, sorry to interrupt you, but
oh,
like
go ahead.
literally step back
Yeah.
Yeah.
and look at the entire
Literally.
Yeah, you have to step back from your art every now and then. It's like when you do a makeup, you're focused on stuff so much,
much.
you have to step back, because if you overdo one side of the
Yeah,
makeup
gotta make
or
up for
whatever,
it.
Yeah.
then it's just like, oh, so then you have to worry about it not being muddled or cloudy or anything like that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, my biggest obstacle from when I first started doing artwork to where I'm at now is I was afraid of success. I didn't want, every time I started making strides when I was younger and progress, and people were starting to notice me and like, oh, Dan, this and this and this, and I was just like, I don't like this. I don't want to be that person. That was a big problem with me. Probably in my mid-40s is when I started to go, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
Amen.
I'm gonna do it, man. I don't care if I get successful or not. Let me see what I can do with my artwork. And, and since then, it's been pretty good. Don't get me wrong, I still have my problems. I'll get jobs sometimes from people that, as your work progresses, you start getting better and better contacts. You start meeting people who actually can help you out more so. And that was my thing, being around these successful people and you're not successful, it's kind of like a little bit intimidated sometimes.
Imposter
And that-
syndrome.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I just had a big problem with that for a long time, man. And like I said, I was in my 40s. I said it's now or never. People my age are starting to retire from the industry right now, just because they can't keep up with the younger guys. And I understand why. I mean, it's and it is kind of a cutthroat business. Not as much as you would think it is. There's artists you talk to who will not give out their secrets or
Yeah,
whatever.
Definitely.
This
And
is
I-
my blood recipe.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's silly, man. I
It
mean,
is.
we're all artists, we're all
Yeah.
doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I could teach you how to do something, right? And it doesn't mean you're gonna do it exactly like me, but if you do, cool, man. But you will take what you learn, because I do this. I learned stuff from Robert, from Dave, digging your shading on the pumpkin, man. So I'll take stuff from other artists, and I'll incorporate it into my own, and try to make it out of something myself, So little bits in here and there, and sometimes you see stuff that they might not see in their work,
Yeah.
But that's.
David?
There's a phrase amongst the airbrush artists. When in doubt, skull it out. I'll sit in front of my easel and, what do I draw, babe? And, you got that block in front of your face and you're just like, what am I doing? Like, just do it, man. When in doubt, skull it out. I'm drawing my skull. My skulls are sell all the time
Yeah.
and I used to sketch a lot on paper and stuff like that. And then it's like a lottery, like shooting darts. I have a huge pad. I used to have little pads, but now I buy huge pads. And I'll start drawing and stuff, and when I'm done, I'm like, damn, I should have put it on canvas. And mental health, I'm down on myself and
Yeah.
up all night, and it's real, and the block is real, the writer's block is real. That's why they're there.
Yep.
They're blocks, and I've learned to. I have a process now, because I used to start and draw a pencil and spend 500 hours drawing it with the pencil, trying to get it right, and now I've learned my process and how to do it quick, and I'm not afraid to share my secrets. If you come talk to me, I'll show you. I've had classes and I'll show you what equipment to buy. I'm not afraid. I'll show you how I do it, and come to me, I'll show you.
Now,
Because it is true about artists that keep their blood secrets,
this is my recipe, not yours.
and I don't understand that, but
I'm
yeah,
gonna patent
definitely.
this color blue and no other artist can touch
Right,
it.
right.
Yes.
One of my
And shit happens and stupid as all hell in life.
Right,
but
I'll
that's
pass
just-
out one secret. If you paint and you're gonna do something black, add a little bit of blue in there, black and blue, and it becomes a rich black.
Mm,
So if you're gonna be painting
that's a perfect
black,
secret right there.
add a little bit of blue, like maybe a 60-40 mix, and then that black becomes a rich black, and it just bam.
Love that.
And
I love
say
that.
no to writer's block and artist block. Just if when in doubt, skull it out.
Skull it out. I like that. Now, were all of you working on pieces at your booth as well today? I know you obviously were. I had you doing stuff. Were you doing airbrushing at your table as well?
I'm going to call it a blessing because I was just too busy signing stuff.
Good. No, that's a good thing. You were too busy working.
Yeah, yesterday I tried to do a little demo, but again, I was just so busy autographing
Awesome,
stuff,
man.
talking to people, and like I said, I'm not afraid to. I'm a talker.
Good. I love
talker.
talk.
Well, we're
Dan,
on a panel.
I'm gonna bring up your amazing display.
I got two
model.
here.
Well, huh?
I got two.
You have two here? Where's the other one? Come on. Come on up here and stand up here for me.
Yeah, Dad.
Well, I'm formulating my next question here. This is going for all of you because you have all done a display during the day or have worked on demos in the past. Physical art is a very solitary thing. You've talked about being in your garage, getting that Zen moment. How is that now being translated, being put on display in front of a whole con of people that are watching you while you were sitting there going, I'm my own worst critic, I have imposter syndrome. I want to know, we're going to start with Dan on this one because your examples are here and we can see the end product. I want to know, while you were working on these, was any of that going through your mind or was it just the art that was working?
So with my my Victorian skull lady, with her, what I did is I called her up and I said, hey, what kind of costumes do you have? That's pretty much what I do with everybody when I sit down. I like to have at least a minimum of 2 weeks, you know, to figure out what I'm going to do.
I'm gonna walk through it.
They'll send me pictures and stuff of what they have, or they'll tell me what they have. And if it's something I think I can work with, I'll say, hey, great. I've been wanting to do a look like this for quite some time. I saw something similar to this in Los Angeles at Monster Palooza. I just really loved the way it looked, and I was like, you know, I want to try my version of it. So that's pretty much where that process came from. That was more of a thought out one. And then this one here, she's my zone tripper. But before I say anything about her makeup, same thing. I said, hey, what costumes do you have? And fortunately, that she's associated with Robert here, and Robert actually made the costume. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
We pieced together some things I already had laying around, and
Yeah.
collectively, Ann and I kind of put our heads together and like, well, this is what we got.
Yeah.
This works.
So I told her what I want is I want to do a zone tripper. If you guys know what a zone tripper is, it's usually a person who walks around aimlessly doing whatever they can to survive after the nuclear war.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Zone tripper. So I got the idea from a movie called Hardware.
Hardware.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All of a sudden we
Thank
have
you.
some moments of
Everyone's
that
like,
movie, yes.
So it's one of my all-time favorite movies. In fact, this is kind of a really weird story. The first time I saw it, I was sitting at my friend's house, and yes, this is bad, don't do this, kids. I was on a hallucinogenic, I won't say what. But we decided to watch it.
Inspiration.
Yeah, inspirational.
He was getting inspired.
I was getting inspired, you know.
There we go.
So I was watching the movie, and I saw the Zone Tripper, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm like, I'm digging it, right? And then the movie had Lemmy in it. I mean, come on, Lemmy's God, right? So anyway, long story short, that was a great movie. Then I had to go back and watch it again sober to see if it was actually good. You know, to see if it was good, and I
was
did.
good.
Yeah, no, well, it was still good, man. I still rate it high.
So not only did you work on a display, the two of you collaborated on a
Yeah.
demo display as well. So then doubly, while you're doing the work and people are walking to your booth and talking to you and wanting to purchase what you have in front of you and wanting to witness what you're doing, how much of that influences how you do your demo? How much of that influences the speed you might be putting into things or the detail? You, Justin, have this, I'm going to say, unfortunate canvas that you're not going to cover up a flaw, you're going to have to incorporate.
Yes.
How is that for all of you artists in front of a live audience when you are a solitary artist that's used to working garage?
Real quick, I'll just say this.
Yeah.
This is what I do. There's no such thing as a good artist. The thing that is how good are you covering up your mistakes?
Love that.
I love that. That goes, earlier today we got to do a panel with the amazing Billy Zane, and he gave the comment that it's talent plus chaos. That's the secret ingredient. It's talent plus chaos, and I'm holding that dear from here on out. I like that. Can you cover up your mistakes?
Right.
In doing these demos, has there been somebody come up to you and talk to you and gave, I know everybody thinks they can do what you do. Everybody sees what you do, and are like, oh, I've done that, I've done pumpkin carving. I have two, I can make 2 holes and a mouth, sort of. So, I wanna know, when those people come up to you, and they're like, oh, you should do, how are you dealing with those people when you're, again, a solo artist? Somebody's coming in trying to, out of nowhere, hey, you know, if you didn't do the teeth over, where does that line go? How do you deal with that with the public?
I think, sorry, you go ahead.
Real quick, I put him to the test. Come over, come on. I used to own a business at the mall, and in the window right there by the mall, people walking by, there's a stage, there's people looking at you, and I had people come up and, oh yeah, I can do that stuff, or you think you can do this stuff? And of course, I just put it in there. I make it look super duper easy. I've only been doing it for 30 years. So I make it look super easy. But yeah, I'll get people to say, come over, come on, get in here, and let's show me what you got. And yeah,
You literally just throw the gauntlet down. Here you go.
so that's what I do.
Money, mouth, put it. Yeah, I love it.
I think, yeah, as an artist, it's your baby. You feel very protective of your work, and you put a lot of heart into it, a lot of love into it, but you're not the only one looking at it. You know, you don't make it just for yourself. You're obviously making it for yourself because you enjoy doing it, but it's like a movie or a musician. You know, you're nothing without your fans or your viewers. So I think input is great, and I also try to remind myself that the person who has a suggestion, they don't use the same terminology. You know, they're not an artist, so you kind of have to be the translator there too, to like take what they said, interpret it, and be like, oh, okay, did you mean like if I go this direction and I do that? Oh, okay, I could see it. That'd be cool. That's a good idea.
Or explain why that won't work.
Exactly. That's the hardest part too. Trying to
So it's either,
softly
we
explain
got
like,
one that just directly challenges.
yeah.
We've got 2 that are like, okay, well, I'll
Well,
explain
yeah.
why, I'll gently explain why that was stupid.
Right. Or I usually like to explain like, yeah, I tried that before, and this is why it did not work.
Yeah.
Not just like, no, it's a bad idea.
I'm a little
You
bit different
show
on
your
that,
knowledge.
yeah. I'm a little bit different on that aspect. I honestly, I take it with a grain of salt. You know, I look at who's telling it to me. If I'm like doing something for the public, then yeah, I tend to have more of a bigger ear. Okay, I get it, because what I like, a lot of people don't like. You know what I mean? And it's all personal taste.
Yep.
If you hire me to do a makeup, then my goal is to get your image in your head out.
Exactly.
And so then it's not my art. It's my art, but it's not my concept. That makes sense?
Yes.
But when I'm doing stuff for myself, I tend to keep, closed doors, and I don't let anybody in. Just because, like at my house, if my family sees a paintbrush or a pencil in my hand, they know to stay away from me. Because I'm kind of an asshole when I'm drawing, and they come and start bugging me. I'm like, dude, really? What? What is so important right now? You know what I mean?
Because, see, I'm working.
Yeah.
Appreciate my
Well, no, it's the endorphins and stuff. You start getting in there, and you get, it's a high when you draw, especially when you get going, and
Yeah.
It's very
and
zen.
It is very zen. But when I'm in stuff like this, I expect it. There's going to be a lot of people here who, we're going to bring up mental illness. A lot of people come to these cons, and you'll see them in any different con. Doesn't matter if it's a horror con, a comic con, whatever con. They're going to be there, and there are going to be people there that are going to be a little bit challenged, especially socially. And they don't know how to talk to people, and I get that. So the thing is, you just have to be patient with
Bring it
people.
out of them.
You be nice, and you go, yeah, hey, that's a great idea, or I've tried incorporating that before, but it didn't work for me. Just stuff like that. And I try to be, hey, that's a good idea, but not all the time, But
Well, and I know I'm sure this is true for each of our respective areas, but you kind of hear the same things over and over and over. And for me, a lot of it is about preservation. People can't fathom the idea of letting it just rot. The fact that,
Right.
I'll spend hours on a pumpkin. I do a lot for the Minnesota Zoo. And in the end, they end up in the same pile as the camel shit. It's mind-blowing to so many people. So there's always ideas for
Saving it.
Freezing,
Yeah.
hairspray.
soaking
Right.
it
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
sealing it in resin.
Yeah.
Dip it in resin.
Have you tried a different medium?
Yeah.
Why pumpkin?
And a
Get
lot of
over
it,
but on the inside.
yeah.
So what's the best way to preserve a pumpkin?
there is not.
Take a
There you
picture.
They are a vegetable that will rot.
They will rot.
Right.
The colder the weather, the colder and the drier the weather, the better. A fridge.
A fridge.
A fridge.
Yeah.
But even then,
Put it next to
if
your
you
beer every
extend
time.
it,
You
yeah,
can't extend it too long.
you might get a day.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got, I've seen people scrape the mold out and dump the rotten juice out and seal the whole inside with rubber and, you know, they just spend a bunch of time and money and all this and
Next.
Okay.
then
I'll say
a
something
day.
real quick.
Right,
My side note,
it's not gonna last forever, no matter what you do.
I'm a clairvoyant. I'm pretty good at gauging people, and other artists will come and compliment us, and I can tell they're artists, and they give compliments and everything.
You can tell by how they approach you,
Right.
the words they use.
Yes, and I can tell these guys are artists, and I'll ask, and do you guys draw? Yeah, I dabble a little. I used to, and I always encourage them, keep going.
Yeah.
But we can tell who, you know, you get the compliments, and those people are, you can tell they're in the artist side.
I don't know if it's just the artists that we are lucky enough to get at Sinister Creature Con, or if it's just the majority of physical artists that I've been lucky enough to meet. But if you tell them, oh, I like drawing, the 9 out of 10 times we get the artists that are here going, then do it, do more.
Yeah.
I've never heard so many professional people encourage so many complete strangers to do what they do, as I see with our featured artists at Sinister.
Look, man, I'm sorry.
No, so I love that.
If I wasn't here as a featured artist, if I wasn't doing makeup, I'd be probably in the audience watching the panel myself. Yeah, because I mean, the greatest thing from doing demos here at this con is I love when you guys come in, man. You're all dressed up in your stuff. It's freaking awesome. I mean, I understand there's different levels and stuff. I mean, some people may not be able to afford or know how to do stuff. So, you know, you get duct tape, plastic, stuff like that. That's not a big deal, man. You're working with it. You're making it happen. So as long as you're making as long as you're making stuff happen, just do it, man. Do what makes you happy.
I think we're the late night show. We can say shit.
Okay, okay.
I think we're all good with shit?
Yeah.
Good, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, as long as we're good with shit. Shit!
Yeah, but
There's no
they're
minors
amazing
in the
people
room.
out there.
A question I love bringing up to artists. I myself am a playwright, so I go back to one of my favorite playwrights, Neil Simon. Neil Simon has one script of his. He is one of the most famous playwrights in the world, has one script of his that he despises. And the reason for it is because he started it and didn't know where it was going at the end. I want to know for you, how important is it to fill your entire vision, or how often you let the art speak for itself and follow the path? So let's start with David and go back that way.
Oh, you're gonna start with me, huh?
Okay, no, we'll start with Robert, because I've started with
No,
you
I got
twice.
you.
All right, well,
We can start with Robert. We'll go with Robert. Go.
I'd say it's definitely a gray area. It's never, I'm sorry, repeat the question.
It is, as far as how important it is to you when you envision a piece,
Yeah.
to complete the piece exactly how you envision, or along the way, do you let the piece start forming itself somewhat?
Pretty much every single time I'll end up letting the piece form itself, but I do have a very clear vision of what I want, how long I want it to take, the materials I want to use, how much of the materials I think it's going to take. That usually always changes. It was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, I need like 5 more cans to make
Oh
this happen.
shit, I'm way
Yeah,
underestimated.
so it always is going to change organically, I think, over time, where it's like the materials I use, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not expanding as much as I thought it would. It's just going to take 2. Or maybe I should fill it with something else, but make sure it's lightweight. So let's get something really thin, let's stick it in there.
Yeah.
There's all these little variables you have to encounter, but not let it discourage you, and just constantly try to work around it. Like there's always going to be obstacles. It's not going to be perfect.
Let it sit for a little bit.
Yeah,
Come
let it
back.
sit. Yeah, come back.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, when in doubt, skull it up.
Fill it out.
There you go.
But yeah, definitely, it's not always exactly how I envision it, but I'm a very visual artist person. I do see something in my head of what I want it to be, and it pretty much ends up looking like that. But if I'm really, really strict, or if it's like for a client who's paying for materials, I'll make it look exactly how it's supposed to. But if it's like my own fun project and I'm playing with materials and this and that,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we can go this way. Like originally, this was going to be on its head.
Oh, okay.
And I was gonna have it sit on top of his head and you could see through it, but it wasn't quite working out in time, so, oh, okay, put it on the stick. But
There
now
you go.
it adds another whole
Another
nother
layer,
style
another
shot,
dimension to the
layer.
character.
So
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Justin?
Yeah, actually, very similar. You know, you'll have your idea, you think you know exactly how it's gonna go, but you have to play with what is happening at the time. Otherwise, I mean, I think some things are just impossible.
Yeah.
Some things you dream them up, you think, I know exactly how I'm gonna do this, and then it's never gonna work. It gets muddy, or it breaks, or, you know, the medium is just wrong, or you're not skilled enough. You haven't met that, you know, and sometimes you just have to go with what the canvas is going to let you do. And I know one thing with pumpkins is you kind of don't know how well it's going to cut until you're cutting it.
Start to cut.
And you could spend hours and have a great drawing, one that you just love, and then and then the skin's so tough, or it's totally green inside, and when that happens, it's not going to glow, and it oxidizes really fast, and it turns brown, and it's kind of a waste. And at that point, you know, this is my vision at the halfway point, and that's where it's gonna live.
Dan?
You know, it's funny when you do makeup on paper, it's easier. It's easier to do on paper, but when you're doing
Everything's better on paper.
it is. When you start to do stuff on people, you know, yes, I know these two ladies here, and I've worked with them before, but you can't always keep that in your head, what their facial features are, different things. It's weird, and sometimes I've actually had models or even actors I've worked on where the makeup won't take.
Oh.
They'll either sweat it off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or it just won't,
Yeah.
or it just won't go on at all. Especially when you do prosthetics and you have industrial glue on them, and you literally see it coming out from underneath the prosthetic. You're like, dude, how the hell is that happening?
What?
You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dude.
Alien?
Yeah, so you know, I go into it, I usually have a vision in my head, but do I stick to it? 9 times out of 10, no.
Oh.
And sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I'll see something even more, like, oh, you know, like this is even better because I didn't even think about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you see my paperwork, most of it's pretty much out of my head for the most. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like out of my head, but it's generally the idea. But when I do makeups and stuff like that, they're about 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a concept and then I'll just go with it.
I love that.
David, I give you enough time?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
I saw, I'm a huge metal fan. I forgot who the band was, but I bought this shirt and it's just ingrained in my head. My vision's my religion. And it's just in my brain all the time. And yeah, my vision of art is that I was talking to Justin about this, how I'll start a piece. Usually I'll sketch it in, draw it, and once I get erased stuff and I get it started, and I was like, I'll Star Troopers guy.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Justin about this. Like I'll start the piece, and then as you're doing the piece, you start to the vision it's happening in your head, and like I was talking to Justin, you stop at a while because you don't know how to make the gun pop and how to make it's the head doesn't show or something, and all those like I said, we all said walk away,
Yeah.
go watch the football game, go take a motorcycle
Go have a
ride.
snack.
And I'll be out on the river road riding, and in my head is just going to go, dude, make it glow, and it just comes, you know. And then, that's how you do it. So you gotta step away a little bit, and then the vision, they come. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just
Step
crazy
away,
like
go
that.
do the dishes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come back.
And then
It was way more fun than doing dishes.
right, and then the walking away is magic. Walk away, man, and then I'll come back and just dumbfounded how good it looks. I'm not patting my own back, but it's true. Sometimes you need to walk
start
away.
with yourself with it, yeah.
Yeah, and you come back and it's just clarity. It's a moment of clarity, and it happens sometimes when you come back and look at it, or like the most of mine are when I just leave. I'll be on the bike, I'll be with my wife, I'll be drinking a beer, whatever, and oh yeah, make it pop a little bit, and this and that. Oh yeah, that's how I could do it, and that's my vision, my religion. That's how I think about
I
it.
like that.
Going back to like the garage, I think it's extra important to know your environment. What is your environment? What is comfortable for you? What's your favorite music? What's your, like incense or lighting, or like what's your favorite drink and snack food? Just like create your nest, if you
Yeah.
will, like
True.
your hub that's like it's your safe ground.
I want all
And
my
you-
supplies within.
Reach.
Everything
Yeah.
around me.
I don't wanna go hunt
So
for
like,
something.
I don't have to get up to get anything. I can sit here for 10 hours and be comfortable. And then you start working, and those 10 hours go by, and it feels like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just in the zone, and you're not even like, you're on a whole new level.
Yeah.
And then you take a moment, you take a breath, and you're like,
Oh crap.
Yeah.
oh wow, look at this.
The sun's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
You
sun's
realize
coming
you
up.
haven't eaten, you haven't gone to the bathroom,
Yeah.
you haven't smoked a cigarette.
Yep.
Now that the cigarette's all you think about.
Right, and
It's
then
been
you're all of a
6
sudden you're
hours.
like, whoa, wait, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I wasn't uncomfortable for the last 10 hours because I created this environment for myself.
Speaking of moments that fly by and go, oh, wait, what just happened? I am gonna have to wrap this panel up. I absolutely adore.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, man, appreciate it.
I love picking all your brains, and I love that you are here, accessible for our amazing patrons who come into Sinister and get to not only watch your demos,
Thank you,
but
guys.
can also get your
Thank
artwork
you.
and talk to you directly. So once again, thank you, David, Dan, Robert, and Justin, and their amazing models.